Broad decided to give Lucille a day off to rest. Lucille was surprised, and he realized that he hadn't had a single day off since his training started. However, he doesn't have anything else to do, so Broad suggested that he help butcher some monsters. Lucille agreed to his suggestions, as he wants to get a closer look at the monsters and gain some experience at the same time. The butchery was just next to the cafeteria, and Galba welcomed him while introducing himself. Lucille thought that Galba looked familiar, and he realized why after Galba introduced himself as Gulgar's older brother. Afterwards, Galba decided to start butchering while asking Lucille to watch first. Lucille was shocked when he saw him take out a huge boar from a small bag, so Galba explained that it was a magical bag, and Lucille was impressed after hearing this. Galba reminded him to watch closely, and then he proceeded to skin the boar before splitting open its belly to take out its insides. Lucille closed his eyes, as he wasn't used to seeing monsters get butchered. But he was surprised when it was over quickly, and he realized that it was much easier on the eyes. However, it was because Galba had been doing it hundreds of times. Afterwards, he asked Galba if the cafeteria was using all the meat that he was butchering. Galba explained that some of the meats are sold to other guilds and shops in town to cover the guild's operational expenses. Then he told Lucille that he'd like him to gain some butchering experience. He also added that Broad likely sent him to the butchery to familiarize himself with each of the different monsters' weak points so he would know how to attack all these monsters in the future. Lucille was touched that Broad was thinking about him, but he panicked when he realized that Broad expected him to fight all kinds of monsters. Seeing this, Galba explained that it would help him survive once he starts going out on adventures as a healer. Then he also added that the guild doesn't get many newcomers who are as serious about preparing as Lucille, as most of them are just gunning to become heroes, rushing out into battle and dying just like that. But he explained that thanks to Lucille, the fatality rate among new adventurers is down, since after suffering severe injuries, they learned their lesson that they weren't special at all, but thanks to him, they are still surviving. Afterwards, Galba took out a horned rabbit from the bag before asking Lucille to try butchering it. Lucille was shocked, but he agreed, so Galba started giving him instructions. He asked Lucille to split open its belly and then take out its innards. Lucille wasn't comfortable doing it, but he thought it was necessary for him to learn it. After butchering, Lucille went to the cafeteria, where Gulgar asked him how it felt to butcher a monster. He told Gulgar that he was now much more grateful for the food he was eating. Gulgar seemed pleased to hear it, but he reminded Lucille to change his clothes since he was still covered in blood. While washing his clothes, Lucille remembered how he had been eating a lot of meat in his previous life, so he was unhappy with his reaction when he had to do the butchering himself. At the same time, Nana Ella arrived. She was worried for Lucille. Even though he told her that he was fine, she noticed that he was pale, so she wasn't convinced. Lucille remembered the horned rabbit that he butchered because of her ears. She knows that it was difficult for him to butcher the monster since it was his first time, so she explained that it was similar to adventurers who are excited in their first battle, although they could slay monsters without hesitation. Once they are alone, mental exhaustion sets in. She looked for Lucille, as the guild employees including her were all worried for him, and she wanted to do what she could to help him. Lucille was grateful, and he asked Nana Ella to continue holding his hands for a little longer. For dinner, Lucille had a stew made from the horned rabbit that he had butchered. He was feeling much better, and he happily ate his meal. However, Gulgar gave him Substance X again, and he had no choice but to drink it. Lucille got another rest day, but he had nothing to do this time. He thinks about his magic training and realizes that every time his level increases, it will be harder to reach the next level, exactly like in RPGs. Then he started wondering if Broad was busy, but Nana Ella and Melina surprised him from both sides. Then Murnell appeared in front of him, explaining that Broad had asked them to give him a lesson since he was lacking in knowledge. However, he is more worried about what the adventurers would do to him if they saw how the three beautiful ladies were dragging him to the library. The ladies brought out all kinds of books about their world, from books about monsters to books about countries, laws, religions, and even medicine. But he decided to start with books about the country's laws, religions, and mythologies. However, Murnell and Melina left, saying that Nana Ella would take over teaching this really useful information. Nana Ella explained that Broad had asked her to teach Lucille practical worldly knowledge, but both Murnell and Melina wanted to know which things would interest him, so they decided to follow them to the library. Lucille asked if it was fine that she had to spend a lot of time with him, and Nana Ella responded that it was also an important part of her job. She started by explaining that they are in Meritoni, located in the Republic of Saint Shu Rule, the only place in the world to have abolished slavery. Lucille was shocked, and he was really grateful that he hadn't reincarnated in a different place. Then Nana Ella also explained about the independent city-state of Yenis, a nation of beastfolk that many different races call home. For half a year, Lucille continued his training, treating wounds, study sessions, and random errands. While Lucille was checking the highest-earning adventurers of the month, Murnell and Melina also showed up, interested to see the rankings. They were amazed that the lineage of the White Wolf was ranked number 1 again. However, he couldn't focus on checking the rankings as both ladies were sticking to him, so he asked them to give him some space while feeling shy. But they refused, saying that they were just bonding with him. Nana Ella tried to stop them, and although they didn't listen, they stopped when Melina noticed that Lucille's clothes were a bit tight for him already, so Nana Ella accompanied him to shop for new clothes. Lucille was grateful, but he told Nana Ella that she could just tell him where to go and he could handle it himself. However, she explained that it has gotten dangerous recently, and that other people also showed her around the city when she first arrived, so she wanted to accompany Lucille too. With Nana Ella as his guide, Lucille managed to buy clothes that he could use for a while, and she even paid for all of it as Broad gave her money to spend for him. Lucille was satisfied with how his first shopping trip in this new world went. However, he suddenly heard a scream, so he handed all his bags to Nana Ella before looking for the source of the scream. He could recognize the voice, and he immediately found the wounded Monica lying in an alleyway. Lucille sighed in relief when Monica finally regained consciousness. She couldn't remember what happened, so Lucille explained that he found her covered in blood, and she was also poisoned, as he had to use the cure spell since the heal spell didn't work on her. He also asked if someone had tried to kill her, while Nana Ella concluded that someone had hired a mercenary to kill her. Hearing this, Monica remembered that she had offended a healer named Bataculi. She told Lucille that her friends went to a clinic owned by Bataculi, but they couldn't pay for his healing, so he tried to sell them instead. However, Monica publicly objected to it, so he could have hired a mercenary to kill her in retaliation. Nana Ella told Lucille that Bataculi operates the largest clinic in Mertoni, so he realized that he was a big shot. And even if Monica stayed in the Healers Guild, her safety is still not guaranteed. Because of this, he decided that it would be best for her to stay in the Adventurers Guild. Although Nana Ella agreed, Monica was worried since healers and adventurers don't get along. So Lucille explained that throughout his stay in the Adventurers Guild, no one had confronted him even once. Monica finally agreed while thanking them. After feeling better, Monica looked for Lucille to ask how much she needed to pay him for healing her. But Lucille didn't ask for anything, saying that she had been really nice to him, so she had already returned the favor, and he even offered to treat her to a meal instead. Monica couldn't stop herself from crying, grateful for Lucille's kindness. After a month, the man who attacked Monica was apprehended, but like Lucille had expected, the connection between the criminal and the healer was not uncovered. Monica decided to work permanently at the Adventurers Guild after experiencing the adventurers' nice treatment. 2 months later, Broad was suddenly looking for Lucille. Some adventurers were in critical condition after getting flunked by monsters. Because of their conditions, Lucille had to use his heal multiple times on each of the adventurers, which exhausted him quickly. Broad had to give him a magical potion to help him recover and continue healing the remaining adventurers, and he immediately passed out after healing everyone. After regaining consciousness, Lucille remembered that he was able to save the 3 lineages of the White Wolf members. However, there were still casualties, so he made a vow to the fallen adventurers that he would work even harder. After a year, Lucille asked Broad's permission to leave the guild. Although Broad suggested that he stay and work for the guild instead, Lucille explained that he wanted to learn new spells and earn some money, then eventually return to open his own clinic that would be affordable for the adventurers. Broad realized that Lucille had made up his mind, and he was also pleased with his goals, so he didn't stop him anymore. Lucille thanked him for everything before leaving. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and look forward to the next part.